Welcome to the Intentional Father Podcast, where us fathers parent our children, not by accident, but with intent. I'm your host, Aaron Stroman. Welcome to Season 3. This season is all about being a father and navigating the waters of divorce. So we're going to have just 7 episodes in this season. I went through a divorce at the latter part of 2016, and I just want to share some of my experience, some of the things I did right, some of the things I did wrong, so that if you are a father out there going through this, maybe you can learn from my experience and do it better than me. Episode 1 it's really going to be focused on pre-divorce. So if you're thinking about a divorce, maybe you've been presented with some sort of ultimatum or threat of divorce from your spouse, and you're wondering, okay, what do I do? What I really want to focus on in this episode is the opportunity to fight for your marriage. And really summing it all up to say this: if you can fight for your marriage, you should, and do it. Fight for your marriage. There may come a time when you can no longer fight for your marriage. And at that point, you're going to have to shift your behaviors and your mindset. But if you can fight for your marriage, you should. And here's why. It's so easy. It's so easy to fall into this mindset that if I was married to another woman, things would be better. My life would be better. My marriage would be better. All these scenarios that we're in dread in currently, you think, oh, that would be better. But the reality is, virtually every couple out there faces the same battles. And whatever issues your marriage has, most of those are because you are a part of the marriage. And so whatever marriage you end up in, whatever woman you end up married to, you're going to have the same issues because you're bringing the majority of those issues into the marriage. So it's very ignorant, maybe naive to think if, the woman's the source of all these problems. And if I was just married to a different woman, then my problems would all change. You're going to have basically the same set of problems. Maybe there's a few issues that the woman is bringing into the marriage that would change if you married a different woman. But that's the thing. They won't go away. They will just change. And I'm not trying to be harsh or condemning when I say this. I'm just trying to be realistic. Marriage is tough. And everyone brings their own junk and crap into the marriage. Finding a new spouse is not going to change that. It won't. Especially if you have children. Once children are in the mix, trust me, it is easier to work through the issues of your marriage with your spouse than to try to start over with the new spouse. So fight for your marriage. Go to counseling, work on it, try to work through it, and give it your all. Give it your all. You do not want to walk away saying, man, I wonder if I would have tried a little harder, if things would have been different. You want to give your best while you can, because if you're headed towards divorce, there is a point of no return where you can no longer fight for your marriage. And then you have to start dealing with all the divorce stuff. And we're going to go through that in the following episodes. But when I remember this very clearly, when I was going through a divorce, I reached out to my senior pastor and was saying, hey, I don't know what to do here. Can you come talk to us about this? And he showed up, and I wasn't the one who wanted a divorce. My spouse was. And I remember his encouragement to her was, it's like, before you move forward with this, you want to be certain that you gave it 100%. And you want to try every opportunity there is to save the marriage before you end it. And I mean, I'm basically repeating his words, because once you do, you can always divorce later, but once you divorce, you can't go back, essentially. And I know there's couples who have, but for the most part, once you cross that line, there's no going back. So work through it, work through it, work through it. Again, I'm a father. I'm not married to my kid's mother, and that complicates things. You know, my kids have a stepfather, you know, on their mom's side. That gets complicated. That gets messy. Then my kids are on their second stepfather, right? So I mean, there's a lot of emotional repercussions. There's a lot of collateral damage when you go through divorce. And again, I sympathize with you. I know there's this really romantic idea that life will be better if I'm divorced. And that may be the case at some point. But if you can avoid that, fight for your marriage, fight for your marriage, fight for your marriage. And then here's a second point I want to make in this first episode. Keep your integrity. Don't do anything to jeopardize your integrity. You know, as you're approaching divorce, or if you're in the early stages, don't jeopardize your integrity. So what does that look like? Don't say anything that will come back and haunt you. Don't do anything that will come back and haunt you. Part of the divorce process is a legal process. Okay, there's kind of a social dynamic, there's a spiritual dynamic, but there's also a legal dynamic. Protect your integrity on all three fronts. If you're legally married, don't behave as if you're legally single. What does that mean? If you're legally married, don't start dating other women. Okay, we'll get into dating, but that needs to wait for a long time. If part of your reason for divorce is so you can get out and date other women, you have the wrong motive. Get over that. Stick with your marriage. Figure it out. Date your wife. Don't cheat. Don't sleep around. Again, don't say things or do things. A lot of guys get real, and not just guys, but women too, get real squirrely. They start messing with bank accounts and finances. They'll say things, they'll do things, they'll steal things, they hide things. Keep your integrity the entire time, especially when you're fighting for your marriage. Just don't make stupid decisions. If you feel like you need to hide something, cover it up, delete the chat, delete the text, whatever it is, then you're not keeping your integrity. You want to behave as if the entire world can watch, including the court system, the judge, and the other attorney, not just yours. And if you feel like you need to hide it, you're doing something wrong. Don't do that. Whatever that thing is, keep your integrity. The benefits of integrity will come back tenfold. You may not see it tomorrow. In fact, sometimes even keeping your integrity and doing the right thing, it may even hurt you in the short term, but I promise it'll be worth it in the long term. So keep your integrity, fight for your marriage. I know this is a season 3 on divorce, but man, if you can save your marriage, fight for your marriage, and prevent divorce, that's episode 1. Do that. Don't come back to any of these episodes until you've done that. But then the next 6 episodes, we will talk about if divorce is inevitable, what are some good ways to navigate those waters. But my encouragement to you, fight for your marriage. I have dear close friends who are married. They have been married 20 years. They walked by my side through my divorce, and they asked the question, I wonder what my life would be like if I was divorced. And they ask me almost kind of seeking permission, like, hey, is this something you'd recommend? Should I do this? And it's like, no. And they complain about their wives and the things they got to deal with and work through. But it's so much better than what you're going to deal with as a divorced father. So there's my encouragement for you. Hopefully this is helpful. If you came here looking for like a stamp of approval to go through divorce, that's not what you got today. So I'm not sorry. I was about to say I'm sorry. It's not what you got today. You got something better. So fight for your marriage while you can. And then if you can't, that's what the next 6 episodes are for. God bless.